Alright, we're back with another one, and I hope y'all rocking with me today because what I'm about to lay on this table is not just messy, it is nuclear. If your name is Cardi B and you woke up this morning thinking today was going to be a peaceful little Tuesday, baby, I got some devastating news for you. The entire internet just turned on you overnight, and I mean turned on you in a way that no PR team on this planet, not even the highest paid crisis manager in Beverly Hills, is going to smooth out before the weekend. Cardi B has officially crossed the line from being a rapper the girls talk about into being a full-blown internet cautionary tale, and I need every single one of y'all to lock in with me right now, because this one right here, this is the beginning of the end of an entire era, and if you blink you are going to miss the exact moment the culture flipped on her. So listen, when I say Cardi B has fumbled in a way that we have never seen from her before, I am not exaggerating for the algorithm and I am not stretching the story to make it click. This girl posted a video that she and her team put out into the world on their own free will, out of her own free hand, showing her stomach after all these surgeries she has been swearing up and down on every stage, in every interview, on every red carpet, that she never had. And the second the internet said what the internet always says, which is the truth, Cardi B lost her entire mind, ran straight to her lawyers, and started copyright striking her own footage off of every timeline she could find. Now hold up, let that marinate for a second. She posted it. Her team posted it. Nobody leaked anything. Nobody hacked anything. Nobody broke into her phone. Cardi B willingly walked outside in broad daylight, showed the girls the goods, and then when the girls had opinions, she tried to erase the evidence like she is the FBI in a witness protection case. Cardi B, sweetheart, that is not how the internet works. That is not how public consumption works. And more importantly, that is definitely not how you get away with being one of the messiest mouths in the whole entire music industry. Because let's be very clear about who Cardi B is. This is the same woman who logged onto a live audio room days ago and dragged Bia's whole face into the dirt, calling Bia ugly, when Bia, in the humble opinion of the entire timeline, is objectively 10 times more attractive than Cardi B could ever dream of being. This is the same Cardi B who has spent years talking about anybody who breathes in her general direction. This is the same Cardi B who has built her entire career on being loud, on being unfiltered, on being the girl who says what she thinks about everybody, from Nicki Minaj to Megan Thee Stallion to whoever else has the misfortune of trending on the same day as her. And now, in the year of our Lord, the same Cardi B wants us to believe that she is too fragile for a comment section. Phew. The audacity is louder than any single she has ever released. I need somebody to explain to me, and I mean explain it real slow, like I am 5 years old and I just learned my alphabet, how you can dish out the meanest, most cutting, bar-length insults about other women's looks, about other women's bodies, about other women's careers, and then the very second the mirror turns around, Cardi B is on the phone with a copyright lawyer trying to make it all disappear. This is not strength. This is not confidence. This is not the boss energy the fans keep swearing she has. This is not the sassy, unbothered queen the tabloids keep painting. This is what my grandmother would call weak sauce with a side of chicken grease. And that, my friends, is exactly what Cardi B is serving on the menu today, in the year of our Lord 2026, with no seasoning and no napkins. Now let me back up and paint the picture properly, because if you have been out of the loop for the last 48 hours, this whole meltdown started when Cardi B decided to give the girls a little sneak peek at what has been going on underneath her clothes. And what the girls saw was not what the girls expected. The stomach, and I am choosing my words very carefully here because I do not want to be too disrespectful, the stomach looked like it was in the middle of a rebellion against the surgeon who put it together. There were dents. There were dips. There were textures that God did not design and gravity did not approve. There was, according to the entire comment section of the internet, a look that folks were comparing to a mummified relic pulled straight out of an Egyptian tomb. Some people called it cottage cheese. Some people called it a road map to nowhere. Some people said it looked like bubble wrap after a moving truck ran it over. One person on the timeline said it looked like her stomach had a stomach of its own and that stomach was also having a bad day. And Cardi B, instead of laughing it off the way a real girl's girl with real confidence would have, decided that the whole internet needed to be silenced by force. The person who was tweeting the loudest about Cardi B's situation went on the record and said, and I quote directly, "Just finished eating dinner just to get an email that the video had been taken down." Now, I need y'all to sit with that for a second. This person did not steal anything. This person did not fabricate anything. This person was reacting to a video that Cardi B's own team pushed out into the public arena. And yet here comes Cardi B and her legal squad, marching around the internet like they own every single timeline, snatching content off of everybody's feed like some kind of digital repo man. This is the same Cardi B who has been begging the industry for years to take her seriously as an artist. This is the same Cardi B who wants the Grammy, wants the American Music Award, wants the plaque on the wall, wants the flowers, wants the crown, wants the throne. And now, instead of being on the charts for her music, Cardi B is trending because of a bad tummy tuck. That is not the headline she wanted, and every single person with 2 working brain cells can see it from a mile away. Here is the part that really cooks me all the way through, though. The reason this whole thing landed on my desk today is because Cardi B just got officially embarrassed on the Billboard charts too, on the exact same news cycle. Because while she is out here playing whack-a-mole with copyright strikes, her single Am I the Drama is tumbling down the Hot 100 like a rock in a pond with a broken parachute. According to the latest Billboard projections that dropped just this morning, Cardi B is dropping all the way down to number 35 this week. Number 35. Let that number ring in your ears. Meanwhile, sitting comfortably in her own lane at number 26 on the very same Hot 100, is a song by Caressia called Spend Dat. Now let me be honest with y'all, and this is where I might catch some smoke in the comments section, but I have to say it. I don't like either one of those records. I am not going to sit here and pretend that Caressia is putting out generational music just because she is outcharting Cardi B this week. That is not fair to the culture. That is not fair to the real MCs in the game. But what I will say, and I will stand on it firmly, is that female rap this whole entire year has been in the absolute gutter, and Cardi B was supposed to be the one to save it, and instead she is out here trying to save herself from her own Instagram post. So moving right along, let's pivot to somebody the industry is genuinely, and I mean deep in their bones genuinely, terrified of. Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj has been on this hiatus that has felt to a lot of fans like it will never end, and I need y'all to understand something very important about that hiatus, because the mainstream blogs are lying to you about it. It is not because Nicki Minaj cannot work. It is not because Nicki Minaj has lost her voice, her pen, or her fire. It is not because Nicki Minaj has run out of ideas. Nicki Minaj was actually, according to sources I have deep inside the label, planning to drop a whole project this year. This year. Not next year. Not the year after. This year. But Nicki Minaj is currently in the middle of renegotiating her deal with Republic and Universal, and every single bar she writes right now under her current contract is a bar that they own outright, and the girl is not putting out another masterpiece for pennies on the dollar while lesser artists get bigger cuts. Nicki Minaj is smarter than that. Nicki Minaj has always been smarter than that. On top of that, this whole Camelface freestyle situation dropped, where he took shots at Nicki Minaj and Drake in the exact same breath on the exact same track, and everybody on the timeline has been asking why Nicki Minaj has not responded yet. And I need y'all to hear me clearly, because the answer is not what the blogs are telling you. Nicki Minaj is not scared. Drake is not scared. Neither one of them is running from anybody. The reason they have not fired back yet is because Camelface is actively cooking an album in the studio right now. A whole album. Which means if he throws more shots, that album gets more attention, and that attention translates directly into streams and sales. Nicki Minaj and Drake are not in the business of helping this man sell records. Especially considering that the last remix Camelface put out with Beyoncé straight up flopped on the charts. It did not chart the way the industry expected. It did not resonate the way the label needed. So the strategy from Nicki Minaj's camp is very simple and very effective. Let the man swing at empty air. Let his album drop. Let it do whatever number it is going to do without your assistance. And then, and only then, when the timing is exactly right and the algorithm is watching, address it on your own terms, on your own single, on your own release week. Now here is why the industry is truly, deeply, in the bone scared of Nicki Minaj returning, and I want y'all to really hear this next part. Because when Nicki Minaj comes back, when Nicki Minaj officially drops a single, even the people who claim they hate Nicki Minaj are going to click that play button. Even the trolls. Even the clone accounts. Even the folks who spend every waking hour on the timeline typing paragraphs about how Nicki Minaj is over and done and finished. All of them, every single one of them, is going to tune in the second Nicki Minaj opens her mouth. And that kind of guaranteed attention is an absolute nightmare for a music industry that has spent the last 2 solid years pushing everybody else into her lane. Because let's be real with each other, there are so many little Nicki Minaj imitators running around this industry right now, it is straight up embarrassing to watch. And I am not going to name them by name in this video, because I am not in the business of giving free promotion to fake queens, but you know exactly who they are. You have watched them try. You have watched them fail. You have watched them attempt the flow, attempt the wig, attempt the alter ego. Because you cannot copy Nicki Minaj. You can copy the hair. You can copy the aesthetic. You can copy the ad-libs. You can copy the outfits. You cannot copy the pen. And the pen is what makes Nicki Minaj Nicki Minaj. Even Doja Cat, and I am going to give Doja her flowers here because she absolutely deserves them, Doja blew up the biggest when Nicki Minaj was on maternity leave with Papa Bear. That is a fact you cannot rewrite. When Nicki Minaj stepped back from the mic to have her son and focus on her family, Doja took off with Say So and never looked back. Now I do not think Doja is a Nicki Minaj clone in the way the other girls are. Doja has evolved into her own entire artist with her own entire sound and her own entire lane. But you cannot look me in the eye and tell me with a straight face that Nicki Minaj's silence did not create the space that allowed Doja to explode. And that is exactly the pattern the industry has been running for 2 years straight, over and over and over again. Keep Nicki Minaj quiet. Push whoever the label wants that quarter. Make everybody forget the queen exists. But the second Nicki Minaj clears her throat, the whole timeline snaps to full attention. That is the power the industry cannot control, and that is exactly the power they are terrified of losing more territory to. And you already know, deep down in your gut, that when Nicki Minaj does drop new music, the sabotage machine is going to fire on all cylinders. They have already done it once before. They snatched a full 100,000 sales off her last project through so-called reporting errors that nobody could ever explain or justify. So the second Nicki Minaj comes back, expect the games to start all over again from the top. But Nicki Minaj fans, the Barbs, we already know how to move. We know exactly what to do. We know how to fight for our girl. And this time, in this new era, the industry is not going to catch us slipping, sleeping, or standing down. So let's pivot to a whole other situation that has the entire timeline in an absolute chokehold this week. Tyla. Tyla, baby. What is going on over there in your camp? Because Tyla just hopped on a live stream to announce, with a completely straight face, that she has been locked out of her own X account for a whole entire month. A whole month. Tyla said somebody with access to her account set up two-factor authentication and now she cannot get back in. Tyla said she probably will not be able to get back in ever. Which is, without a doubt, the most convenient timing I have ever heard in my entire life, because this announcement came right after Tyla's team reposted a nasty little article that was dragging Rihanna in the middle of what was supposed to be a positive review of Tyla's own album. Now let me say that again, real slow, because I want it to hit y'all different this time. Tyla's team took a positive album review, a good review, one that was celebrating Tyla, and instead of just enjoying that win, they used it as an excuse to throw shots at Rihanna. And when the internet came for them for it, all of a sudden Tyla is nowhere to be found and the account is mysteriously hacked. Do these girls really think we were born yesterday? Here is my thing with Tyla, and I am going to say it plainly because somebody needs to say it out loud. If your team is out here throwing rocks and hiding hands, you need to clean house immediately. You need to fire every single person on that payroll and start completely over. Because if my social media manager retweeted something negative about another artist that I disagreed with, that person would be packing their desk before lunch break was over. That is not hard. That is not a complicated executive call. That is basic professional function. And the fact that Tyla is not firing anybody, not one person, tells me one of two things and only two things. Either Tyla actually agrees with the shade her team is throwing and she just does not have the personal courage to stand on it publicly, or Tyla is not actually running her own operation at all and somebody else is calling every single shot. Neither one of those answers is a good look for a girl who just released a whole album. Because here is what I have personally observed about Tyla over the last 12 months. Tyla loves to sit right at the edge of the pool. Tyla loves to dip her toe in the mess. Tyla loves to let her team say the thing she wants to say without ever having to say it out of her own mouth. And when the backlash comes rolling back down the timeline, Tyla is nowhere to be found. That is a pattern. That is not a coincidence, and it is not a mistake. That is a strategy. And it is a bad one, because the girls have caught on. The Rihanna fans caught on months ago. The Nicki Minaj fans already caught on last year. And now everybody on every platform is watching Tyla try to pretend she does not know how her own social media accounts operate. If you are going to throw shade, girl, stand on it. Own it. Wear it. Do not hide behind an intern with a laptop. That is not girl power. That is cowardice with a marketing budget attached. And here is where it gets even messier for Tyla, because the numbers do not lie. It just got reported that the biggest opening day streams for an album by a female African artist on Spotify globally in this current cycle is Tyla's new album, which is called A-Pop, coming in at number 1 with 4.8 million streams. Number 2 on that entire list is Ira Star with 3.9 million. Now I know exactly what the internet is going to try to do with this news. The internet is going to try to spin this into a gag on Ira Star. Not from me. Not today. Not in this video. Because 4.8 million streams for Tyla is, quite frankly, embarrassing given the massive build-up, the international campaign, the features, the co-signs, and the media coverage she got. Tyla should have been closer to double digits on that opening day. 10 million minimum. Tyla had Chanel last year. Tyla had the wave. Tyla had the momentum. And somewhere along the way, that momentum turned into a slow leak, and it has everything to do with how the public perceives her personality. Because here is the truth nobody in her camp will say out loud. Music is a popularity contest. It has always been a popularity contest. It is not just about talent. If it were just about talent, half of the biggest artists on the planet right now would be pouring coffee at somebody's cafe. It is about who the girls like. And the girls, in unison, have decided they do not particularly like Tyla. They do not like the attitude. They do not like the sneak dissing at Rihanna and Nicki Minaj. They do not like the way her team operates in the shadows. And the streams are starting to reflect that public sentiment loud and clear. Ira Star, on the other hand, keeps her nose clean. Keeps her focus locked on her music. Keeps her personal drama off the timeline. And she is climbing exactly because of it. And if Tyla does not clean up her act, and clean it up fast, Ira Star is going to sail right past her before the end of the fiscal year. That is not a hater's take. That is basic career math. Now let's take a hard left turn, because a video just surfaced online that has the entire internet reeling in shock. And when I say reeling, I mean this thing has been in every group chat, every timeline, every comment section, every Reddit thread for the last 48 straight hours. It is a clip of a very young Beyoncé, and I mean very young Beyoncé, sitting on a grown man's lap, on the phone with none other than the king of pop himself, Michael Jackson. Now the internet has been debating this footage from every possible angle. Some people are saying Beyoncé looks starstruck. Some people are saying Beyoncé looks completely uncomfortable. Some people are saying it looks harmless enough. But a whole lot of people are saying what many of us have been quietly thinking for years now, which is that Beyoncé was groomed by the industry from the moment she stepped foot in it, and that grooming is exactly what set her up for a marriage to a man 12 years her senior. One fan on the timeline said it absolutely perfectly, and I want to read it to y'all word for word. They said, "Why is nobody asking the real question, which is who released this footage and why now, at this exact moment?" And they went further, saying that Tina Knowles allowed her own daughter to be circulated through the industry like this, that Tina let it happen, and that this is why Tina defends Camelface with everything she has, because he was, in their exact words, the highest bidder. That comment lit the entire timeline on fire. And listen, I am not here to declare final verdicts on Tina Knowles or on Beyoncé's family dynamics from behind a microphone. But I am here to tell you that this conversation is not going anywhere anytime soon. Because too many of us have been watching the pattern in this industry for far too long to pretend we do not see what we clearly see. Because let's be real with each other for a moment. Beyoncé is not the first industry victim of this kind of setup, and Beyoncé is not going to be the last. Look at what happened to Aaliyah. Look at what happened to Foxy Brown. Look at what happened to Rihanna in her early days. Look at what happened to Britney Spears. Look at what happened to Jamie Lynn Spears. The industry has always had a very particular appetite for young girls with talent and no protection. And Beyoncé, whether Beyoncé wants to admit it publicly or not, was one of those girls at one point in time. Now Beyoncé's supporters will point out, and they are not wrong about this specific piece, that once Camelface locked her down officially, he shielded Beyoncé from the wolves that were circling. Which brings us to a very uncomfortable, very complicated truth. Because as much as I have my own opinions about Camelface, and Lord knows I have plenty, he did one thing right in that marriage. He put a fence around Beyoncé. Once they were together officially, and once he made Beyoncé his queen in the public eye, the men in the industry knew to keep their distance. We all remember exactly what happened to Sean Paul back in the day. Camelface basically blackballed Sean Paul from being anywhere near Beyoncé because he was threatened by the chemistry the two of them had on that hit record. We all remember when Bun B and Slim Thug got shut out of a Beyoncé set because Camelface did not want any rappers around his wife. That is not a small thing. That is not paranoia. That is a man with real industry power using that power to keep his wife safe from other industry predators who would have circled her like sharks otherwise. Whether you like Camelface or not, and I know many of y'all do not, that fact is undeniable. Beyoncé was protected by him in a way that Aaliyah, unfortunately, tragically, never was. But here is what I really want y'all to take away from this entire Beyoncé segment. The blame does not start with Camelface. The blame starts, and I mean the buck stops, with the parents. It starts with the people who allowed their little girl to sit on a grown man's lap in the first place. It starts with the environment that made that entire moment even possible. It starts with the industry gatekeepers who saw a talented young child and decided her career was more important than her childhood. And until we, as a culture, start holding the parents accountable in these situations, we are going to keep watching this exact same cycle repeat itself with the next generation of young stars we all claim to love. Now, speaking of Camelface, this man just quietly pulled off something in the last week that has my full and undivided attention. Camelface just earned his biggest streaming day on Spotify since 2021, and it happened out of nowhere. 11.1 million streams across all of his credits in a single 24-hour period. His monthly listeners just hit a brand new peak of 48 million people. 48 million. From a man whose last solo studio project came out all the way back in 2017. Now I need somebody, anybody, to explain that math to me in plain English. Because Camelface has not put out real new solo music. His remix with Beyoncé was, and let me be as polite as I can here, less than stellar. It did not chart the way it was supposed to. It did not resonate with the culture the way the label needed it to. So how, exactly, on what planet, did Camelface just have his biggest streaming day in 4 solid years? Where are these streams coming from? Who is streaming this man on a random weekday in the middle of the news cycle? It does not add up on paper. And to me, to my ears, it smells exactly like what happens when an artist is quietly preparing to drop something big. You seed the streaming numbers ahead of time. You get the algorithm warmed up and hungry. And when the actual project drops, the platforms then report inflated first-week numbers that make the release look bigger than it organically is. This is not a new industry trick. This is a very old industry trick. And I am watching it happen in real time with Camelface, right here, right now. Because let me tell y'all something y'all need to hear. Camelface has a project on the way. That is not speculation on my part. That is a fact I am standing on. And when that project drops, and Billboard reports that Camelface did 300,000 first-week units, and then it sits at number 1 for 5 weeks straight without moving, everybody on the timeline is going to say, oh wow, Camelface is still that guy after all these years. But the truth, the ugly little truth, is going to be that the streaming numbers were already being cooked in the oven weeks in advance of the actual release date. This is exactly why the industry cannot be trusted with anyone's career. This is exactly why Nicki Minaj is renegotiating her deal so aggressively right now. This is exactly why Drake keeps his moves quiet. Because the same industry that inflates one artist's numbers overnight can strip another artist's numbers just as fast, and neither the fans nor the artist ever gets a real explanation. So let me pull all of this together, because I know we have covered a lot of ground today, and I want to make sure every single one of you leaves this video understanding the bigger, sharper picture. Because here is what all of these stories have in common, from the top of the video to the bottom. Every single one of them, from Cardi B copyright striking her own stomach video, to Tyla hiding behind fake convenient hacks, to the industry stalling Nicki Minaj's return, to the Beyoncé grooming footage suddenly surfacing, to Camelface suspicious streaming spike, every single one of these situations, without exception, is about the exact same thing. Control. Who controls the narrative? Who controls the numbers? Who controls the timeline? Who controls what you get to see, what you get to talk about, and what gets quietly erased before the algorithm has a chance to spread it to the masses? And that is the game. That is the whole entire game they have been playing on us. The industry is not about music anymore, if it ever really was in the first place. It is about who can manipulate the story the longest before the girls on the timeline catch on and start posting receipts. And these celebrities, Cardi B being the loudest and most tragic example right now, keep making the same fundamental mistake over and over again. They believe that because they can control their team, their PR firm, their lawyers, and their streaming numbers on the back end, they can also control what the girls in the comments section think about them. But they cannot. They never could. And they never will. Because we, the audience, we the culture, we the girls in the comments section, we are the actual jury of public opinion. And this week, Cardi B just got called guilty on all counts of being a full-blown hypocrite. Tyla just got called guilty of hiding behind her own team like a coward. Camelface just got called guilty of buying his own streams to prop up a comeback. And Tina Knowles just got called guilty of letting her daughter grow up surrounded by wolves in Armani suits. Nicki Minaj is the only one in this entire story who is playing the long game correctly, and I need everyone to acknowledge that. Because Nicki Minaj is not out here posting videos and then deleting them in a panic. Nicki Minaj is not out here hiding behind hacked accounts and mysterious two-factor authentications. Nicki Minaj is not out here begging for streams from anonymous playlist curators. Nicki Minaj is silent. Nicki Minaj is watching. Nicki Minaj is waiting. Nicki Minaj is calculating. And when Nicki Minaj comes back, and Nicki Minaj is definitely coming back sooner than any of us think, the industry is going to find out very quickly that all these little imitators, all these little clones, all these little momentary chart toppers, cannot hold a candle to the real thing when the lights come on. Now I want to circle back to Cardi B for one more moment before I let y'all go, because there is a piece of this story I did not get to yet, and it is critical. Cardi B has spent the last 24 hours acting like the victim of a coordinated harassment campaign, but the receipts show she is the exact opposite. Cardi B is on record just weeks ago mocking other women's post-surgery bodies. Cardi B is on record just months ago dragging women who had bad BBLs. Cardi B is on record dragging Nicki Minaj, dragging Bia, dragging every girl who has ever had the audacity to breathe near her chart position. And now Cardi B wants sympathy. Cardi B wants protection. Cardi B wants the very same grace that Cardi B has never once extended to another woman in this industry. That is not how karma works, sweetheart. Karma does not care about copyright strikes. Karma does not care about press statements. Karma keeps a receipt file, and Cardi B's file is thick. And what makes it even worse, what makes it even sadder to watch, is that Cardi B had every opportunity in the world to be different. Cardi B had every opportunity to be the girl's girl. Cardi B had every opportunity to be the one who brought female rap back together after the wars of the last few years. Instead, Cardi B chose to be the loudest voice in the war. Cardi B chose to be the one throwing the sharpest stones. And now Cardi B is standing in the middle of a glass house that she personally built brick by brick, and she is shocked, absolutely shocked, that the girls are picking up the pebbles she left on the ground. Ma'am, you handed them the ammunition. Do not act surprised when it comes flying back. And Cardi B fans, before y'all come for me in the comments, and I know some of y'all are already typing paragraphs, hear me out. I am not a Cardi B hater. I am not a Nicki Minaj stan. I am not paid by any label. I am just a girl on the timeline, calling it like I see it, and what I see this week is a Cardi B who has completely lost the plot. Cardi B has forgotten who she is. Cardi B has forgotten what got her here. Cardi B has forgotten that the same fans who put her on top can just as easily take her off the throne. And this stomach video meltdown is not a small mistake. This is a franchise-ending decision. Because you cannot preach body positivity on Monday, mock other women's bodies on Wednesday, and then copyright strike your own body on Friday. The math does not math. The girls are watching. The girls are keeping score. So I need y'all to do something very important for me right now. In the comments section below this video, I want you to tell me who you think is the biggest fraud in this whole entire situation. Is it Cardi B and her ridiculous copyright strikes on her own content? Is it Tyla and her mysteriously convenient hacker story? Is it Camelface and his suspicious out-of-nowhere streaming spike? Or is it Tina Knowles and the way she has always quietly operated behind the scenes of Beyoncé's entire career? Drop your take below and let me hear it. I want to read every single comment. I want to see who y'all are calling out by name. I want to see if the comments section catches the same patterns I have been catching all week. And listen, one more thing before I let y'all go for real this time. I have a whole separate breakdown coming on my other platform about Perez Hilton, about Selena, and about Selena's mother Taylor. That whole situation has been marinating in my notes for weeks now, and I finally have enough receipts, enough sources, and enough courage to say exactly what I want to say. The link to my other platform is going to be sitting right there in the description of this video. If you are not already signed up over there, you are missing the deep dive that the mainstream blogs will not touch with a 10-foot pole. Because at the end of the day, I am not here to sing anybody's praises. I am not here to sell anybody's album. I am not here to protect anybody's fragile little brand. I am here to tell y'all the truth, and to tell it in a way that makes the industry uncomfortable enough to keep watching. So make sure you follow, subscribe, and turn on those notifications, because the next video I drop is going to shake even more tables than this one just did. Trust me. Catch y'all in the next one, peace.